Welcome to the best of the Following the Nerd podcast, a compilation of all of the best bits from this week's radio show. To keep up to date with all of our top stories, go to www.followingthenerd.com and get in touch with us by sending us a tweet on Twitter at NerdFollowing and like us on Facebook.com/Following the Nerd. And now, with all the latest nerd news and reviews, here are your hosts, Mark and Saxon.
Okay, we're going to make you all feel very, very old tonight because one of our favourite movies of all time, in fact, I'm going to just say it, my favourite movie of all time, Saxon.
If there's something peculiar in your general vicinity, who are you going to contact?
Well, the DOE, probably.
Absolutely, yes. Everybody outside of Ireland will not get that joke, but
yes.
Whatever.
Okay, yeah, my favourite movie of all time, your favourite movie of all time.
I'd say so.
And I know there's a lot of love for it on our social pages, our Twitter, our Facebook. We put the question out tonight, how important is this movie to you? And a lot of people are being honest about it. It's Ghostbusters. Eat 'em up.
Absolutely right.
Do not cross the streams.
Easy.
Okay, there's 30 years... Oh,
shut up. There we go.
30 years.
Yes.
30 years.
30 years, man.
30 years.
It's been 30 years since 1984, man.
A little bit of gross point blank in there as well. Yeah, I mean, 30 years. I remember going to see it in the cinema. It's arguably my first movie memory.
Yeah?
Yeah. I know, because you're obviously quite a bit younger than me.
Yeah, I'm in minus years whenever Ghostbusters came out. I'm in minus years when Ghostbusters 2 came out.
Which is 25 years old this week as well.
Is it this week? Yeah.
This week as well, I think, yeah.
We'll get our researchers on that.
And just announced, in the last day or two, John Wright, one of our writers at followingthenerd.com, sent me a link tonight. Ghostbusters 1 and 2 are coming out together in a deluxe Blu-ray 4K edition soon. We don't know quite when yet. But it's coming soon.
This news makes me so happy.
I know, because, Ghostbusters 2 has been long overdue, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been long overdue for a Blu-ray release.
Yeah.
But not only that, if we're getting a 4K Blu-ray release, it would be so nice to get some special features on there.
Yeah.
Because, we've heard the stories of the deleted scenes, and I want to know more about the making of the movie and that sort of thing.
Well, we have got a big show. We'll go far enough.
I think we've got a really big show tonight.
We have a lot of Ghostbusters love tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to do the normal show, obviously, but we're going to take the first hour or so and we're going to dedicate it to those boys in grey. We're going to dedicate it to Ghostbusters.
Indeed, we are.
And we have got some pretty cool guests on here tonight. Now, we will talk a wee bit about, because we put it out for everybody earlier on, what was your favourite Ghostbusters moments and stuff like that. We will get to that later on. But our guests tonight, okay, first up, we've got a man, we've had this gentleman on the show before, a chap by the name of Michael C. Gross. Now, the name may not jump out at you right away, but trust us, if you know Ghostbusters, you know this man.
Yes, you do.
He is the man that designed the No Ghost logo. Which has been...
Where would we be today without that logo? I'm wearing it on my T-shirt as we speak tonight.
Yes, you are. And recently been voted as the world's most recognizable and iconic logo.
Yeah. That's some feat.
And of course he created the Terror Dog in the movie, the Terror Dogs, and he was there from day one, and he was there right through. He was involved in Real Ghostbusters as well. We're going to be talking to him. Next up, we've got a lady who we spoke to quite a while ago on the show, and she's an absolute delight. Laura Summers, the very lovely Laura Summers, who of course played Janine Melnitz in the Real Ghostbusters.
Indeed, she did.
That's pretty cool.
Yes,
it's pretty cool.
Kept the firehouse hot.
One of our favourite guests on the show, a man who's been on the show almost as much as you have, Saxon.
I know, it's getting crazy now, isn't it? We'll have to give him a credit every week in the end credits.
Yeah. The one and only Mr. Erik Burnham, who writes the amazing, the fantastic, the wonderful, we can't say enough great things about it, IDW New Ghostbusters book.
Indeed.
And this week, this is a man that I've been trying to get in the show for quite a while. Dan Schoening is coming on the show.
Dan Schoening, indeed.
He is the man who draws the wonderful, the fantastic, the amazing IDW New Ghostbusters. He's going to be on as well.
Indeed.
But it doesn't end there.
Does it not?
Oh no!
Wow!
Oh no! We are also going to have Anthony and Claire Bueno. We've had them on the show as well. They are making a documentary called Cleaning Up the Town. It is the definitive look at Ghostbusters. They have spoken to everyone, from the late Harold Ramis right up to they spoke to Michael C. Gross, they've spoken to all the Ghostbusters, everybody involved in making the movie. They're going to be on the show tonight, and we're going to be pretty much gushing a little bit about why Ghostbusters is so important.
Absolutely,
it is important. Now, a gentleman that we haven't had on the show before, and in fact, he only just contacted us in the last wee while, because, word gets out over Twitter and Facebook and everything else, and Anthony Bueno knows him. He contacted us tonight, and his name is John Bolton. John was a visual effects supervisor on the first movie as well. We're going to be talking to him too.
Fantastic.
Which is pretty cool. That's a lot of Ghostbusters love.
That's so much Ghostbusters.
That's a lot of Ghostbusters.
We're swimming in a pool of Ghostbusters tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that is so much Ghostbusters love, all in one place.
A positive containment unit.
Right, now, Saxon,
of Ghostbusting fun.
We'll do we've got a special promo for tonight's show, haven't we?
Indeed we do.
And there's a few little nods and winks in this. I'm looking forward to hearing this. I haven't had the chance to hear this yet.
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to hearing this.
This episode of Following the Nerd is brought to you by Stay Puft Marshmallows, Mr. Sandman Sleeping Tablets, and Bassmasters every Friday at 9 on IBC. You'll love it.
How's that for a slice of fried awesome?
I kind of like that.
Thank you.
Okay, the first person that we're calling right now is a gentleman that some of our more regular listeners might remember by the name of Anthony Bueno. Anthony is working on the documentary Cleaning Up the Town. Anthony, are you there?
I am indeed.
How are you, sir? We're going to have to try and take everybody in one at a time on this, because we've never tried to take so many people in a Skype at one time.
Something really, really terrible is going to happen.
It may blow up.
Akin to 55 Central Park West just going blam at the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
Just expect that in this radio station tonight.
So let's see if we can't we'll try and get Claire on now. Claire, hello, are you there?
I'm here. Good evening.
There's Anthony and Claire from the much anticipated Cleaning Up the Town documentary. Yeah. Been working on this for years now.
Yeah,
I saw a trailer for this thing back in 2010.
Yeah. And it's only like 6.5 years.
6.5 years.
Yeah, 6.5. And we're still not finished yet, but it will be a couple of months, maybe something like that. I think, and I'll have the first version all ready for the off.
Fantastic. Well, if anything, it just shows you just how in depth this is going and how much work and time and effort's being put into the documentary.
Okay, now we're going to try and add Claire and John. Are you with us?
I am.
John, thank you very much. You're a first-time guest on the show. You were, of course, a special effects supervisor on the original Ghostbusters.
That's true. Well, Richard Edlund was the original supervisor. I was the visual effects art director. That was the title back then.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to be talking. I'm sure you know Michael. I'm sure you know Michael C. Gross. We're going to be talking to Michael very soon. Do you know Michael?
Michael, are you there?
No, he's not. We're going to be bringing. We're going to be bringing him in now. In 1 second, we're trying to add people as we go along here. Let's add our next guest. Hopefully, is going to be Mr. Erik Burnham. Erik writes the IDW New Ghostbusters comic.
Oh yeah.
Erik, are you there?
I am.
Erik, you're on right now. Erik is the man who writes the amazing IDW's New Ghostbusters. Erik, you're on at the minute with Anthony and Claire Bueno. You've spoken to them before. The last time you were on the show, I think Anthony and Claire were on as well.
I do remember.
Now we're calling Dan. Dan, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hopefully I don't heavy breathe into the mic too much.
No, that's my job.
I know it's okay. You'd be surprised how much that goes on here. We do run rather late into the night. Dan, you're on live right now with obviously myself, Mark, and Saxon. You're also on with Erik, who of course you know.
Yes.
You're on with Claire and Anthony, who are making the documentary Cleaning Up the Town, and John Bruno, who's the special effects supervisor on the original Ghostbusters.
Well, I'm honored to be on here with everybody. This is fantastic. It's really cool. We are really pushing the boundaries of Skype.
We are. Right now, just to be really adventurous, we're going to try and bring Michael C. Gross in on the call now to see if he's ready for the call. Right now, guys, of course, we're all here tonight for one thing, and it's for the love of Ghostbusters. 30 years old this weekend. Am I the only person who's feeling really old?
Oh, God, no.
I don't feel.
Who doesn't feel old? Who said that?
John Bruno. I don't feel old.
John, let's bring you in first. Let's talk to you. You were, of course, you were there. You were part of Ghostbusters. Tell us, how did you get involved in it?
I'm sorry, how did I get involved?
Yes.
Well, we had we're doing Poltergeist at the time, And Richard Edlund, one day I get this call. He goes, "Do you know this? Do you know Ivan Reitman?" Because I was an animation director on the animated movie Heavy Metal, which got me hired at Lucasfilm to do ghosts at Poltergeist. And anyway, this call came in. He said, "Should I talk to Ivan?" I think it came through Don Shea, Cineplex Magazine too. And at that point, it was. Richard took the call and he said, "Hey, they want to do a funny Poltergeist, but with the guys from Saturday Night Live."
Okay.
I went, "Oh, that'd be cool." So Richard, anyway, he set up. I went off to do another film for in between. Richard set up. He went to Los Angeles, set up Boss Film to do that movie, and once we started, it was kind of in place. When I met Ivan, and I already knew Michael, Ivan and the people involved, it was basically we had 10 months till the movie had to be released in July 16th, as I recall, or June 16th. And we just started. I started storyboarding. There were some designs. I know that the script was rewritten from like a 300-page script. Michael Gross probably has more information about that. And we just went for it. We didn't. The big film that people were waiting on was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So we were off the radar. No one was looking for us. Nobody knew what this was. So basically, we tried to do as much impossible as in camera as we could at the time. It was an optical movie, but the Marshmallow Man was going to be a guy in a suit, and the Onion Head, the green guy, was going to be another guy in a suit, and we just figured out ways to do that.
Did you work on the original Library Ghost, Eleanor Twitty?
I did the Library Ghost, yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you create the original puppet? Because there's a story that the original puppet was actually deemed so frightening that they had to go back and redesign it, and then the original puppet was used in a future Poltergeist movie?
Steve Johnson was the head of the creature shop at that point. But I think we had the Library Ghost was, I think it was from another movie that we had done.
Oh, so it was reused then?
It was reused and altered a little bit. I think at the very end, where the woman transfers, big flash, she transfers to that creature that's screaming.
Yes.
I think it was modified to look like that. But we had no idea if it was working or not. That's what I remember.
Okay, I'm going to try and bring Michael in here, guys.
Okay.
I think I've got this. Hopefully got this sorted at this stage. Michael, hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
You, of course, you're the man behind the No Ghost logo, the Tower Dog. You had so much to do with what Ghostbusters ultimately became.
Well, yeah, I was associate producer after having done Heavy Metal with Ivan Reitman. And I was associate producer on a film. My responsibility primarily was to, as a producer, was to manage the special effects, find a house that could do the work, help design all the creatures, see that end of it was operating smoothly. Under Ivan, Joe Medchuk and I pretty much divided our responsibility as producers, and he took care of a lot of on-set and script needs while I took care of post-production, design, and special effects. And along the way, I also, because I was a designer, designed the No Ghost logo.
Which, of course, we spoke to you before, Michael, about this on the show. This was the No Ghost logo has recently been voted as the most iconic, the most recognizable logo ever created. I mean, that must be such a great feeling.
Well, yeah, first of all, you can't set out to create an icon. I mean, if the film was a flop, I think we'd never see that logo again. And if the film was successful with a different logo, maybe that logo would not be successful. But the crossing, the synergy, if you will, of a huge hit with a great logo, just drove it to the top. But who really knew 30 years later it would still be this well-known, active, alive, call it what you will. I mean, that's not normal for any movie. I remember when we were doing the film, right, more exactly after we released it, maybe about a month or so afterward, when we were aware that there were kids loving it, etc. I remember saying to Ivan, I think this is going to be 25 years or more from now. This is going to be a generation's Wizard of Oz. And it turned out true in most ways, And it's great. I went to art school at Pratt in Brooklyn, New York. And I remember it was exactly 50 years ago. And I think of the day I walked onto that campus, and little did I know that 50 years later, it will have been voted the #1 icon created from anybody in the 125-year history of the school. That would have really unnerved me if I had some to hear that news when I was 17.
Now, if we move forward a wee bit, Dan and Erik, you two guys are, well, let's be honest, you're custodian of the Ghostbusters storytelling right now. Tell us a wee bit about about your fandom and how you got into it. Dan, we'll start with yourself because this is your first time on the show. Let's talk a wee bit to you first.
My mom took me to go see the movie, and I came in at the part we were just talking about the librarian. I came in right before she transformed into the big beast. So I thought that I was pretty freaked out, but very intrigued by the film. And I remember I was speaking to my mom a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "Oh, how many times did I see Back to the Future?" Or not Ghostbusters. Sorry. That's my favorite movie, Back to the Future.
In all fairness, for me, the two of them are quite synonymous.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. She said I had seen it maybe about over 10 times in the theater. So she was a trooper, and I appreciated that because it really started off my love for the Ghostbusters, and that was after that, and the cartoon just kind of tripped it off for me. So it was great.
Now, Erik, we'll bring you in a bit here. Dan just talked about the cartoon. It's amazing how many it's obviously a generational thing, but it's amazing how many of our fans tell us that it was the Ghostbusters cartoon that really got them in. I mean, Saxon, you were like that, right?
I was, but for Extreme Ghostbusters.
So, Erik, where did your fandom begin? Did you jump in with the cartoons? Did you jump in with the original movie?
No, the first I saw was the original movie when I was... it was already on video by that point, so it was a couple years after it came out, in 1986 or so. And we were just over at a relative's house, and shut the kids up, put a movie on, and so here's Ghostbusters. It was new; it had just video, and I watched it 3 times in a row. I really enjoyed it, and I didn't see the cartoon for a couple of years after that, but. No, I was already a solid Ghostbusters fan by the time I saw the cartoon, and I was more like, well, this isn't quite right. This is what's with the colors on the jumpsuits and stuff. I was over analytical for a 4th grader, but it's I just enjoyed the humor. Like I've said before, the response of jokes to something scary is something I pegged into early.
and now you're making money out of it, sir. Now it's making a living.
It's a nice thing to mention to my parents. What are you going to do watching these movies and shows all the time? How is that ever going to help you in life? Well,
stop wasting your time watching these movies.
Yeah, it wasn't a waste of time. It was research.
It's true.
Now, Anthony and Claire, we've been. It's because we have so many people. It's hard to bounce around. You guys, you've been on the show before. You are making a documentary. I'm assuming at this stage it's very near done because I know the last time we were talking, you were hoping to get it released very, very soon. Called "Cleaning Up the Town," which is, from what we're hearing and what we're seeing, a definitive look of Ghostbusters. Guys, where did your fandom begin?
Actually, it was Claire was the first one who saw the film. So I suppose that's kind of where it started because she was looking, she could go and see the scary stuff, and it took me a while to get up the courage because I was really freaked out by horror films when I was younger. And I remember seeing it was Ray Parker's. It was the music video. I think that's what I was watching, and there was a bit in the video where you see the taxi cab ghost.
Yes.
And it's like, ooh, I don't know about that. I remember not liking the song at first, and now I love it. But anyway, so it took me a while to actually go and see it. But Claire was the first one to go and see it. so she can tell you that.
Yeah, I was. I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but it was the first film I was allowed to go and see without my parents. And I remember sitting in the cinema where I was, what I was wearing, and being really scared and jumping out of my seat, at the library ghost, and going back and telling Anthony, who liked all the spooky stuff, my God, you're going to be really scared by this film, but it's also really funny. And so, yeah, that's what particularly in my mind, really, because it was kind of my initiation to becoming an adult.
And yet, not here it is. So, where did you decide that you had to make a documentary about this? How did that happen?
That all kind of stemmed off of like the documentary we were involved with before, which was about an American werewolf in London, and we hadn't started the premiere scene thing at that point. So this is really fun. I personally really enjoyed sitting and listening to filmmakers talk about how these films got made back then, and some of it's meticulously planned, and so much of it as well is kind of like, well, let's try this. And I really loved it. And it was just, when we did that, it was just like, if we're going to do another one, I'd love to do it on Ghostbusters, because that was my all-time favourite film. So that is essentially where it kind of all started. It's like, well, we've done it on this one, so why not do it for Ghostbusters? It's a harder film to do for a lot of reasons, especially for us because we're in the UK. But it's just like, let's give it a go and see what happens. And, so far, so good.
Okay, now guys, we've got Laura Summer on the line here as well. We're going to bring Laura in. Laura was the voice of Janine Melnitz in the Real Ghostbusters. So we're going to try and add Laura to the call now as well. Laura, are you with us?
Yes, I was been waiting. I didn't know I was supposed to sign on. I can't figure out these newfangled things.
Well, with a secretary with your experience, Laura, should be able to work Skype out pretty quickly.
I know, but I'm not up to date. I work in this basement, answering calls for ghosts, and it's not very up to date.
Well, someone with your qualifications could easily get a job in the housekeeping or food service industry.
But she's probably used to using ESP.
Now, Laura, tell us a wee bit. We're talking here at the minute about how they got involved in Ghostbusters. We've had you on the show before, and we talked a little bit about this. But for anybody that doesn't know the story, tell us how you got involved in the Real Ghostbusters.
I had just moved out to Los Angeles from New York City, and I was sent, it was one of those crazy stories, I was sent over to meet these people. It was my first voiceover animation audition ever, and they just said, oh, read this, and it was a little monologue, and I didn't even read it like Janine that we know. I just read it like just myself, sort of how I'm talking now, and it was just a little monologue. And then I got a call that I got it, like a few weeks later, and I didn't know what I got, I didn't know what it was, or anything. And then, I don't know, there was all these people and executives, and we're there for 8 hours, and then they said to me, which is very unusual for animation, usually in and out in 2 or 3, and then they said to me, oh, could you do a New York accent? And I said, could I do a New York accent? I'm from Queens. So that's sort of how it happened. And then it became, hello, Ghostbusters. But it wasn't like that originally.
Dan and Erik, are we getting a Twilight feeling kind of here that we're, that you're talking to Janine Melnitz from the cartoon? And Dan, I mean, your artwork is heavily based on how Janine looked in RGB.
Yeah, I'm geeking out right now just listening to her speak.
You're geeking out?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm having some fan moments over here.
That's so cute.
Yeah, no, I really loved the design for Janine on the cartoon show, and that's really the main influence for the design in the comic, for sure.
Erik,
now, which Janine are you using? Which, the original? The original art?
I think it's kind of like, maybe Erik would be the person to ask that one. Who are you writing for, Erik, with Janine? Do you kind of mix the two together, or?
When I'm writing it, it bounces between the movie and the cartoon. So I mean,
yeah. Well, the cartoon they changed the art. Yeah, but the cartoon there was a few Janines, and they changed the way she looked after 3 years. They, I did the retro.
We're basing it on the first season.
Oh, the original and the best.
the nice red hair. I love that red hair.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Mark, but whenever I read the IDW series comic and Janine appears, I almost kind of see Annie Potts, but with Janine's hair from the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as we adore Annie Potts, it's without a doubt Laura's voice we hear.
Yes,
whenever
easily.
Whenever we're reading. Eric, I'm going to put you on the spot. You got one question for Janine. What are you going to ask her?
Oh, man. I'm not good on the spot. You guys know this, and you do it to me every time.
It might be why we do it. It might be why we do it.
Yeah, that's cruel, guys, man. No, I'm just going to draw a blank. Dan, save me. Quick. That's how we work on the comic.
Really?
I write in the script, Dan,
Sounds like
save
you
me.
have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Clark, now the last time you were on the show, we were talking to you about the documentary and how it was going on. How's things looking in the minute? When can we expect to see it? Have we got a release date in sight, or how's things going?
Well, we don't have a release date just yet. It'll be, I'm reckoning, maybe a couple of months. It's been going really well, actually, and although there's a kind of a re-edit I want to sit down and go through. But it's actually going quite well. The things kind of been holding up is just kind of like finalising certain things like the graphics and stuff. But we have a concept about what we want to do to give the whole thing a kind of a style and a look. And we're working on that now. And once that's, which is essentially a lot of filming, it's not of like too complicated filming, so it's not going to take months and months and months. But essentially, once we've shot it, it's done, and then we can just edit it in, and then I know that at least the screener version of the documentary is all finished. So I'm thinking maybe like another couple of months' work of, because waiting for one thing and talking to somebody else while we do this and do that. So I hope to have it done for like this week for like the 30th, but that's all went kind of by the by. But it is coming on well. I'm really pleased actually that we've got a version of the that's there, and we've got a certain amount of the graphics done. It's just these other things that I need to go and shoot, and then it's ready for the world to see. Finally.
Do you have
I think the last time we spoke to you as well, it was before we went to the States. So we've been back out there and done a bit more filming and going and getting cutaways from different parts of America. We've travelled the length and breadth of the United States, getting some more interviews and getting some interesting cutaways.
Do you have an idea of the length yet? Because the last time you were on, you were saying it was going to be about a 4-hour cut, which, let's be honest, I think everybody would sit down and watch a 4-hour cut of it. But do you have an idea of the length yet?
I think the Blu-ray version will be that long. At least that would be for the first film, and then they'll probably be about the same amount of time for the second film. So the way we're looking at the minute is I'm still looking to bring it down to just under 2 hours, or 2 hours.
Why? Why would you do such a thing? Don't take Ghostbusters away from us. Give us more.
See, that's a good question. I think it's essentially so because it's going to be like a screener where people are going to be sat in, hopefully in cinemas or whatever. It just makes it a easier watch, even for people that might not be just as diehard into it. So it'll be enough to kind of keep people kind of happy for the time being while we're kind of doing the Ghostbusters 2 stuff and getting all that kind of cut together. I think that's my main kind of concern. Is like, even though I quite easily sit through probably about 3 hours, I'm just kind of concerned. Well, 2 hours is a good, and I'm like certainly in terms of like filmmaking, I'm all for keeping films around that kind of hour and a half, 2 hour kind of length.
Yeah, no,
that's mainly the reason, and it just kind of by making it shorter just means I can kind of finish the screener version quicker. So I think that's essentially it. I'm trying to keep it to around about 2 hours, and I was talking to John Bruno about it as well. So we was like, he had a few good ideas about how to kind of bring it down and make it quite a slightly more kind of compact and have a story arc and all those kind of things.
Have an explosion.
Yeah, no, that makes sense as well. Like, for a 2.5 hour screening, but with the Blu-ray, if it's like 4 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours, I literally don't care. Like, the best thing about it is it's a home release, so you can stick it on, watch 2 hours of it, go away, come back and watch more of it and stuff.
Absolutely. Exactly. I mean, I think as well from our perspective, we've spoken to over 70 people, And there's such a wealth of information, not only anecdotes, but, filmmaking techniques that would just it would be a crime not to share it with everybody. So I think it's really important for us to have that larger and longer version for fans to enjoy, but, really to share information on techniques that aren't used like they were back then. Really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, now, John, if we can bring you in here, the legacy of Ghostbusters is something that we've touched on a little bit here. I know you couldn't hear what Michael was saying, but a big part of what Michael was saying earlier on was that so few movies stand the test of time the way Ghostbusters has. Is it still, is it still a big deal to you to be involved in that? Because I know I looked at your work. You've been involved in so many movies, but is Ghostbusters still up there?
Ghostbusters #1 was the most fun I ever had. I've done a lot of movies since. Most fun I ever had on a movie. We didn't know what we were doing really. We kept saying, how are we going to do this shot? It's like, I don't know. I just don't know. But we'll get there. And because we would be doing tests. I mean, example, when Dan Aykroyd is in the ghost, what's the ghost? He's in bed and his pants come undone.
A rather infamous scene.
Yeah, Stuart Ziff had rigged that, and he goes, I want to do a test. Can we film it and show it to Ivan? We shot the test, sent it to Ivan, in the movie. We didn't know what was in the icebox. I remember when Dana opened the refrigerator in a screening that we had, and I think it was Seattle. We had a sneak preview, and we didn't have the movie done. I mean, we just had cards in there that said, effect goes here. But what was good for Ivan and the editors and everyone is to find their pacing. When she opened the door and looked in, it said effect goes here. People roared with laughter. I went, well, we better have something really good in there. So I did a test with one of the terror dogs. I found a light bulb that burned for 2 seconds, and we put some sort of smoke behind on the ground, and we looked down at this thing, and we were just puppeting and goofing around. Shot a test. Okay, here the light bulb goes off, and it flared the lens. Sent it to Ivan in the movie. It was really weird. I mean, it's like, well, okay. Remember, we had 10 months from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, the script was hilarious. It was really funny. Bill Murray never said 40% of everything he said that I remember. 40% was ad-lib, and it just, you never knew the scene where he walks in Dana's apartment and he tickles the keys of the piano. Made that up, and then that little machine he was squeezing the bulb. He just said, but everybody laughed when they were filming it, saying, they hate this. Those lines were just made up. And so it was just fun to be there every single day. And I've never had that experience really since that I can recall, other than...
It's so good to hear you say that because, I'm sure, guys, I'm sure you're all the same, sort of Eric and Dan for reference, Laurie, because you're part of that, Anthony and Claire as well, because you are involved in it now. But, we've looked at so many pictures from the making of Ghostbusters, and, it just seems to have been such a great set. Every picture somebody's laughing, everybody's smiling, and it really does have that feel of, as you say, by a wing and a prayer, John, where, everybody's they're just there for the fun of it, really.
I believe Ivan used some of, I remember when Bill Murray gets slimed. We didn't quite know how that was going to work. And anyway, it was... I had a plate camera. I had a bunch of stuff there. I have a picture. There's about 30 guys behind 4 or 5 different cameras in Bill Murray's end of the hallway. just the way he said it, people would laugh. And I remember Ivan would always say, okay, we got another take because Mr. So-and-so just screwed up that take. But I think he used all those as that's funny. I mean, I really believe, and everybody was so into it, and each setup was I just remember smiling a lot, just walking around the set.
Now, Laura, John and Michael and everyone else, of course, they got the ball rolling with Ghostbusters. Then, after Ghostbusters, there was a void that needed filling. Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 were massive, but there obviously was an opportunity there to bring Ghostbusters home, to take it into people's living rooms. And along came the Real Ghostbusters and yourselves. Did you have any idea when you were making the Real Ghostbusters that it was going to be like the movie, that it was going to have this sort of longevity?
No, because I'd never seen the movie, and at the time, and I mean, I knew what it was, sort of, and so it was just it's like an audition. It was, and then when we started working on it, and I had nothing to compare it to. I had no other cartoon experience. I'd come from the theater world in New York and commercials, and I didn't know that you just. But we had a good time, but in what I was doing or what it was going to be, or that it was going to last, or that once you record something, it's it's forever, ever.
Would you consider yourself a Ghostbusters fan now? Because I know you say you hadn't seen the movie when you really got into Real Ghostbusters. Are you, is it still...
I love it. Yeah. I loved her. I love Janine, and Janine is actually pretty close to me. So in spirit, and a redhead, and I think that I owe a lot to Janine, and she had that spark, and she still does, and I hope I still do too.
Well, without fail, every single week on this show, it doesn't start with the Following the Nerd music like it used to. It always starts with one of the promos that you recorded for us, the Hello Ghostbusters line.
Oh, yeah.
Every week, without fail, that plays first.
Yeah, and every time the phone rings, I look to answer it.
So people like it.
Yeah, it's a big hit. Now, Dan and Erik, so we had Ghostbusters 2 with the Real Ghostbusters, then we had the Extreme Ghostbusters, and now you guys are kind of, you're the keepers of the key. It's sort of, Ghostbusters is in your hand.
Carrying the flame.
Yeah.
The key
I want to come to Ireland and do a con there or something.
Yeah, let's do. Well, Erik and Dan, they've refused. They've told us they're not coming over to Ireland. They've been very hostile about this.
They're quite adamant, yeah.
You remember I'm Canadian. I'm not hostile at all.
Yeah. No, it's for fear that Mark will actually kill you for the amount of inaccuracies and things that he's picked up in the comics.
No, we never said inaccuracies. Okay, I have an issue with the Acto 1 not having fins, Dan.
And an issue with Kylie as well.
Kylie,
yeah,
which we may have gone into before.
Recently, I've added the fins back.
Okay.
Onto the Ecto, so you'll be pleased about that.
It must be because I'm up to date. It must be after what do you call it? The Mass Hysteria. It must be after Mass Hysteria, is it?
No, it's actually the first issue of that arc. So I guess that would be.
Did you notice
13?
that? I need to go back.
Oh, we didn't notice it.
I was harboring that rage, you see, and I was blinded by it.
But one thing you did particularly love was the little kind of. Is this spoilers? Can we talk about this? I guess we can because the issue's out now, isn't it?
Yeah.
The issue where they're walking up the stairs and they meet their older selves and they're wearing the actual the screamers. Is it the toy line?
The fright
features.
The fright features. That's the one. Yes.
You know who's to blame for that? That's Erik.
That's
He came up with that idea.
Dan said, "I want to draw the old costumes. Can you figure out a way to work them in?" I said, "I have no idea how to work them in, but I'll try." And that's what I came up with. Yeah,
well,
so Dan could draw them.
We were sent the preview pages by IDW, and it was one of the scenes in the preview page, and I posted it on the page on our website and on the Facebook and the Twitter. And the first comment that went on the Facebook page was, "Oh my God, they're wearing the outfits from the toys." But yeah, sorry, Dan, you were saying which one's the keymaster, which one's the gatekeeper? I'm curious about this.
You said what we were holding the key, so I was just.
Yeah.
I guess Eric and I are gonna have to arm wrestle over who's who.
We're doing this interview.
Dan and Eric, tell us a wee bit about how you work together, about how every month that Ghostbusters comic comes out, where it starts, and how it gets to that point.
Would you like to start, Eric?
Okay. Well, I have asked Dan occasionally what he wants to draw, like I did with those costumes, and if he thinks of anything, he tells me. I try to figure out how to work it into the story. I've just been I've just been making the stuff up off the top of my head with the loosest of ideas off to Tom and Sony. How about they cross country trip? How about we do this? How about we do an 8-part story? What's the 8-part story about? I don't know. So I just write the stuff. I leave the least amount of description in there so Dan can add whatever he's amused to draw. And go through there, and the voices are so clear. When I come up with something bizarre to throw at them, the responses kind of write themselves, and then it's off to Dan for the acting and the art.
Anytime, Mark, you've said this to me as well, and anytime I read one of the IDW Ghostbusters books, like if Venkman's talking, you hear Bill Murray.
Yeah.
If Egon's talking, you hear Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
So that really translates through.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So Dan, then where do you come in? Obviously, at which point then do you jump in and go, no, Eric, this isn't how it goes?
Well, first I start off with a pot of coffee, and then then after that I'll read the script. And every time I get a script from Eric, I always laugh out loud. He's amazing at writing the voices of the characters. It's very uncanny. And after that, I'll go through and start thumbnailing the comic book, and then I'll send those off to the rest of the team. We do a lot of back and forth feedback. I like to share as much of the art as I can as I go through the process, just to get critiques and comments and things like that. So and then we go through, start doing the pencils, send them off to Lewis so he can sprinkle his color magic on top, and then if all's good, gets approved, and then you guys are reading it.
Mm-hmm. What I love about your work, like every single panel of the Ghostbusters comic, like there's so much in there if you sit and study it. Like I was reading one of the issues there not so long ago, and it was a scene set in Res Occult bookstore, and if you look in the background, the painting of Vigo the Carpathian is there. Like I love those little kind of nods, those little Easter eggs.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, it's really the comic book. I envision it as a love letter to Ghostbusters. So it's just an honor to work on something that I love and share that with the world. So it's a really cool thing.
Laura, you're saying that's so sweet, but one of the things that we find is that Ghostbusters, it's one of those franchises that the fan base, it's just everybody's so nice in the fan base. It's like there is this real sense of family in the Ghostbusters fan base. Which is something that I think is very, very important. And it is sweet. Everybody loves. There's a genuine love for Ghostbusters, and all you guys, you're all part of that legacy now. You're all hoping, you're helping carry it on, and it's really, really great to have somebody that cares so much about it.
Absolutely.
Right now, well, guys, listen. What I'm going to do is we're going to start wrapping up because I know that all of you are really, really busy. But the one thing, what I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to put you all on the spot, Eric, I'll leave you to the last because I know that this makes you twitchy. But what I tell you, John, I'll start with you actually because you were there. You were a part of it from day one. Why has Ghostbusters endured so long? What is so timeless about Ghostbusters? If you could put it all in one sentence, what do you think it is about Ghostbusters?
I think the characters in Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and the boys, in the story, and basically they're 10 years old and they live in a firehouse. I think everybody related to this sort of the mystery and spread. I mean, they reacted as kids react to things. And it just hits a chord. Yeah. the effects, I mean, I can look back at the effects and say these are not great effects, but they fit the style and this sort of craziness of the movie. I mean, the Marshmallow Man, I keep getting calls about the Marshmallow Man. I was like, come on, it's a guy in a suit. And it's funny because, I don't know, we thought it was funny. I don't think Ivan thought it was funny when he first saw it. I think it scared him. Because I can't have this whole movie be based on that stupid thing. And people saw it in a screening, this one screening, it brought the house down because they didn't know what it was. So I don't know. We were all as immature as the characters in the movie. We were. I can tell you, like the little green guy. The only note I got about that, the Onion Head, was from Dan Aykroyd, who said it's John Belushi. Just remember, it's John Belushi. So we made him crazier than we were going to, and I think it just plays, and you remember these things. There's a feeling on the set. The music, I have to give music a thumbs up on it. As a director, it just was a funny, fun time, and it just we didn't. Nobody. Here's my final statement. There was 8 of us in our screening room. We looked at things, and it was just, if it made us funny, it made us laugh, we thought, well, we think it's funny. But I don't know if anybody else out there is. They're all going to see Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. They're waiting for that, not this. And it took everybody by surprise.
The thing that always gets me about Ghostbusters, no matter how many times I watch it, it works dramatically. It works as a comedy. The characters are layered. They're characters that you care about. It's scary. It's funny. Everything it sets out to do, it does well. And and I don't think any other movie has ever managed to do all those things in one go.
I do think that's what makes it so timeless. Is that it's almost like a melting pot of everything that people go to the movies for. And not only that, like Michael was saying earlier, I know you guys couldn't hear him, but he was saying that even if the movie was a hit or if it wasn't a hit, it wouldn't really matter if the no ghost symbol looked good. But the thing is, the no ghost symbol looks perfect. The car's perfect, the acting's perfect, the drama's perfect, the comedy's perfect, the scares are perfect. It's like everything came together in this huge melting pot and nailed it. Yeah. And I think that's why so many people love Ghostbusters.
Okay, Laura, the same question to yourself. Why do you think Ghostbusters is so timeless? Why do you think it's still so important to so many people?
Because the movie was fantastic, and it worked just like John was saying. It just worked on every level, and it was real. And that's the best comedy, is when it comes out of a real characters, a bizarre situation. And so that's why people loved it, because everybody could identify. And I got to be part of something that came out of somebody else's work, and that it was done by the best of the best.
Because this is something that you say as well about Ghostbusters, is that none of the laughs are slapstick or done for laughs. They're throwaway remarks, or they're a glance between two characters, or it's little real subtleties.
It's from reality. Yeah. It's from reality, which the best comedy always is. I mean, that's the kind of comedy I like. It's smart. It's not just getting drunk and falling down or slipping on a banana peel, which can be funny too. But no, that's why, and that's why I think generation after generation just loves these characters.
It's what I've always said is Ghostbusters isn't about ghostbusting. It's about doing a job. Like, these guys could easily be working in an office, or like even working as garbage disposal men.
I was working in an office. Excuse me.
Well, true. But like, for the 4 main guys themselves, it's like they just happen to catch ghosts. Like the humor kind of comes from like how mundane it is. There's a great scene in the first movie where Bill and Dan get out of the Ecto-1, and he says, Bill Murray says, you don't look good, and Dan says, I don't, and he goes, no, you look better. You never used to look this good. And then Janine hands him a worksheet, and it's just so mundane. It's nothing to do with ghostbusting or anything like that, but it's so funny.
Can I add one thing? This movie was perfectly cast. That's my final statement.
Very true. Very true.
Now, Claire and Anthony, we're going to bring you in here as well. You're steeped in Ghostbusters right now. Why is it still, of all the people that you've spoken to, of all the places you've travelled to, why is Ghostbusters still so important?
That's it. We ask this question to everyone. Like end of every interview, it's like, why do you think? Well, at the time when we were first asking, why do you think it's still popular 20 years later, and now we're 30 years on? It's like we've been saying. I truly think it's just one of the most perfectly put together films, and it just came together. It's like some things in life, they just happen, and they all seem to happen at exactly the right time when they should do. I think it's the right point within everybody's careers, certainly within the main cast. Because I'm certainly not putting down anything that they've done afterwards, but you're hard pressed to find anything that any of them have done after Ghostbusters that was that good. I love Groundhog Day and what Harold Ramis did, and all those type of things that have gone on, but I just think the way they all kind of came together as those, and all the people within the effects, the way they all came together, and the way that all happened, and just all seemed to happen at the right time. And you had like geniuses like working on the behind the scenes, as well as you got all these like this amazing talent working in front, and all that kind of fun that they're all having just pours out on film, and you can see that completely through it. And I was watching a few like Ivan Reitman's older stuff and like Stripes and things, which I love, but you can kind of see it's still kind of rough around the edges in a lot of ways, just like some of the acting and the way that it's kind of edited sometimes, or even some of the direction. But Ghostbusters, it's like they've fine-tuned all their skills and they've directed it into this one film, and they haven't got any they're not inhibited in any kind of way. And I think it's like partly with the second film is that, okay, well, that was such a success, but we didn't realise kids were going to like it that much. Okay, we're going to make the next film a bit more kiddie-friendly, and we've got to do this, and we can't have them swear so much, we can't have them smoke and all that. With Ghostbusters, didn't have to worry about anything like that, apart from just trying to make the best film they could. That is why I think it just still echoes on sort of like even now, and will do for the next like 20, 30 years.
And it's one of those things as well, we've said this in the show here, that nowadays, in modern movie making, nobody would ever say okay to a giant marshmallow man at the end of the movie. That would never, ever get past. And it's part of the genius of it. I mean, John, you just said there that, that Ivan was like, oh no. But it's just the genius of it. It's like, it's so left field. What is this? And it's part of the brilliance of it, because there's no way anybody would say now in a movie, yeah, we love this idea of a giant marshmallow at the end, we'll do that. Because it just wouldn't happen.
Exactly. It would be by committee now as well, that's my fear for the third one. And it might be a very good film, but there are going to be X amount of like producers and stuff that everything's going to get cleared through, and there's going to be marketing strategies and all this kind of stuff like thrown into it, and it just won't be the film. It can't be whatever they do next. It can't be what that original film was, and I think, and it might still be very, very good, but you're never going to get that with second or third or fourth films, because it's a completely different environment now. We work in a different environment and film industry than what we did way back when, and certainly Ghostbusters just was able to get that, where it's like John was saying, they were left alone to do what they wanted to do. Nobody necessarily cared. They just like, okay, they're doing that film, but let's focus on Indiana Jones, and the next film is going to have the eyes of the world and the internet kind of focused on it. So it just will be a very different kind of film.
Clara, what about yourself?
Yeah, obviously echoing really what John and Anthony has said, but the only thing really I need to add is, for me, apart from it being superb storytelling, is that it came from a place of truth. Dan Aykroyd truly believes in spiritualism and in the supernatural, and from that he's writing from the heart, and I think at the end of it, the film has got a lot of heart. That's what it is in a nutshell for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Erik and Dan, you guys are totally unique right now, because you are putting a voice to these characters. You're representing Ghostbusters right now to the public, to the people of the world. If Ghostbusters exists right now, it's the work that you guys are doing. So no pressure there. But what, Erik, yourself, we'll go with yourself first. Why is Ghostbusters still so important? Why has it endured for this long?
Okay, well, outside of the answers that I've already given, which are 100% true, one of the things that floats in between the comedy and the spectacle of it is there are things that are scary, and these guys, people are scared of a lot of different things, economical or, nightmarish possibilities, any number of things. Laugh at it and deal with it, and that's what this goes through. So it seeps into the back of your head. You got problems, just deal with them, and don't dwell too much. Don't let the problems get the better of you. Laugh at them, deal with them. That's a lot more babbling than I intended to do. I should have just stuck at one sentence. But Dan, it's been a long day.
It's only 1 o'clock there.
I've been up since 3 a.m.
Okay.
It's okay. He can drink now. He's been awake long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes. For me, what comes to mind when I'm drawing it is that it's the ordinary meets the extraordinary. So you're having this realism, but you're incorporating fantasy into it too. That makes it so engaging. Also, I think for me the most important thing that makes it timeless are the characters. There's something about each character that we can all relate to. We have a little bit of Ray and Egon and Peter and Winston in us. And being able to relate to those characters and say, and know how they feel gives it that timeless quality, I think. It makes it so strong. Also, the wardrobe is timeless. There's not much in that first film that you could really point out saying, oh, that's from 1984 or 1983. You could wear that now and look fashionable too, right? So, super sincere and honest, like Claire mentioned. The film doesn't hold back anything, and it's just, this is what I am, and you're gonna love it. And from what John was saying earlier, everybody was just having so much fun, and there's so much passion put into the film that you can't help but not feel that when you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Very, very true. Well, listen, guys, we're going to start wrapping it up now. For anybody that's listening to the show right now, that Ghostbusters fans like ourselves, and I know our Twitter and our Facebook tonight has been sort of melting down, and we will be talking about some of the comments that people were posting as well. But if they want to get in contact with you or to find out, about the sort of the work that you're doing, Laura, we'll start with yourself. Where's the best place for people to stalk you online? Because that's kind of what people do.
I have a page on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? Voice. It's Laura Summer, voice actor.
Okay. And that's
so that would be the best place for questions, and that would be the best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, John, yourself, is there anywhere online that people can get in contact with you and maybe sort of check out your work and just stay up to date with what you're at?
I don't have an actual website, but I'm in London finishing Hercules, which comes out July with Dwayne Johnson.
Uh-huh.
And after that, I have a film coming out August 8th that's Deep Sea Challenge. Jim Cameron's Dive in the Mariana Trench, which I directed.
Wow.
Very weird, but and you can just follow those, and there'll be interviews connected about what we're doing.
Okay, excellent. I know, Claire and Anthony, you guys, I know that you've got a pretty big online presence. Where's the best place for people to follow your work?
Facebook and Twitter is probably it's always. I've got a group and a page on. We've got a group and a page on Facebook, which is Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters, and Twitter is GhostbustersDoc @GhostbustersDoc, and that's the best place. I mean, we are going to get a website done at some point or another where we can put up different clips, but that's the best place where we're. And actually, when we did our trip, Claire came up with a genius idea of doing little video podcasts. So if you want to see the lovely Claire do her thing, then that's one place. We're trying to do that more as well. She's very good at that. I hate going in front of the camera. I've done it once and I won't do it again. But.
And Erik and Dan, apart from your monthly book on the shelves, where is the best place to get in contact with you or to stay up to date?
Twitter. Twitter for me, and that's at Erik Burnham with a K instead of a C, which is what I always have to remind. Dan?
On Twitter, at Dapper Pomade, like the nice hairstyling gel.
Yeah, a little bit of old brother art there, Dan, yes?
Yeah, a little reference to that. And on Instagram, I also have an account. I think it's Danny Schoening, my full name.
Listen, guys, we could sit and talk Ghostbusters all night, but it has absolutely been an absolute pleasure getting you all on the show, and Michael as well, because Michael's just messaged me there and said that he couldn't hold on, so it was unfortunate that the technology didn't overlap properly tonight, but we'll get Michael on the show, and no doubt we'll have you all on the show again at some point in the future. Eric, I think we're working on getting a little shout out for you. You're on the show that often.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. You're listening to the Erik Burnham Show, featuring Following the Nerd.
But listen,
I have my microphone off. I'm sorry, I was coughing.
But listen, guys, from us all, from all the Ghostbusters fans out there, you've all played such a big part in the Ghostbusters fan community, and the fact that you've been involved in the original movie, the Real Ghostbusters animated series, and that Dan and Eric as well, you're keeping it alive, and Claire and Anthony, you're bringing it to the masses again. That how important Ghostbusters really is, and I think it's important to keep doing that, especially now that the movie's 30 years old. We're in a massive year for Ghostbusters, and it's just, as fans, it's amazing. It's great to see, and it's so good to know that you guys are all so approachable out there, and that you are so involved in the fan community. So on behalf of us all, thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for inviting me.
No, listen, it was absolutely brilliant. And guys, listen, we're ready to believe you.
All right.
All right.
We'll talk to you all very, very soon, guys. Good night. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Farewell, guys.
Bye now.
It felt like the Waltons there.
Yeah, it did. Good night, John boy.
Good night, John boy.
Hello, Ghostbusters. Yes, of course they're serious. You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Well, just give me the address. Yes, of course. Oh, they'll be totally discreet. Thank you. We got one!
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. You can kick the $5. I will, mister. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. That's hysteria. Enough, I get the point. Oh, you're here. Yeah, what do you got? Hold it! I want this man arrested! Captain, these men are a criminal violation of the Environmental Protection Act! And this explosion is the direct result of it! Your mother!
Do you believe in UFOs, astral projections, mental telepathy, ESP, clairvoyance, spirit photography, telekinetic movement, full trance mediums, the Loch Ness Monster, and the theory of Atlantis?
If there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say. Ready? Get her! My friend, don't be a jerk. Step aside. If he does that again, you can shoot him. You do your job, pencil neck. Don't tell me how to do mine. Thank you, officer. Shut it off!
And this voice said, Zool. And then I slammed the refrigerator door and I left. That was 2 days ago, and I haven't been back to my apartment.
Generally, you don't see that kind of behavior in major appliance. I gotta get some sleep. I'm dying. You don't look good. You don't? Well, you look better. You didn't used to look like this. Oh, Spengler. Oh, are you okay? I feel like the floor of the taxi cab.
It's just occurred to me we really haven't had a completely successful test of this equipment.
I blame myself.
So do I.
Of course, you forget, Peter. I was present at an undersea, unexplained mass sponge migration.
Oh, Ray, the sponges migrated about 1.5 feet. So be good, for goodness sake. Whoa, somebody's
We
coming.
have to get out of here.
Hey, does this pole still work? Wow, this place is great. When can we move in? You've got to try this pole. I'm going to get my stuff.
You got this reminded me of the time you tried to drill a hole through your head. Remember that? That would have worked if you hadn't stopped me.
Do you have any hobbies?
I
collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Are you, Alice, menstruating right now?
What has that got to do with it?
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
I have a radical idea. The door swings both ways. We could reverse the particle flow through the gate.
How?
We'll cross the streams.
Excuse me, Egon. You said crossing the streams was bad.
Cross the streams.
You're going to endanger us. You're going to endanger our client, the nice lady who paid us in advance before she became a dog. Okay, all right.
Nice shooting, Tex. That's the bedroom, but nothing ever happened in there.
What a crime.
Symmetrical book stacking. Just like the Philadelphia mass turbulence of 1947.
You're right, no human being would stack books like this.
Hey! Get a little tired of this. You volunteered, didn't you? We're paying you, aren't we?
Yeah, but I didn't know you were going to be giving me electric shocks.
I think we better split up.
Good idea.
Yeah, we can do more damage that way.
Wait for the sign. Then all prisoners will be released. You will perish in flame!
What an asshole.
What are we doing? I don't know. What do you think? Stop it!
He slimed me.
That's great! Actual physical contact! Can you move? Hey, where do these stairs go?
They go up. Don't cross the streams.
Why?
It would be bad.
I'm fuzzy on the whole good-bad thing. What do you mean bad?
I want this body.
Is this a trick question?
I'm right in the middle of something, Ray. Nice doggy. Cute little pooch. Maybe I got a milk bone.
Well, let's say this Twinkie represents the normal amount of psychokinetic energy in the New York area. According to this morning's sample, it would be a Twinkie 35 feet long, weighing approximately 600 pounds.
That's a big Twinkie.
Wait. I've always wanted to do this. And the flowers are still standing.
Are you the keymaster?
Yes.
I'm a friend of his. He told me to meet him here.
Listen. You smell something?
Einstein did his best stuff when he was working as a patent clerk. You know how much a patent clerk earns? No.
Can I talk to Dana?
No Dana, only soul.
What a lovely singing voice you must have. If somebody blows their nose and you want to keep it,
I'd like to analyze it.
Get him out of here.
Bye.
I'll fix you, Venkman. I'm gonna fix you.
I'm gonna get you a nice fruit basket. I'm gonna miss him.
Come on, let's run some red light!
Okay. So, she's a dog.
Are you a god?
No.
Then
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
I love this town!
We're ready to believe you.
Someone asks, if you're a god, you say yes!
Alright, this chick is toast!
So yeah, wow, an hour and a half talking Ghostbusters does not get any better than that. Okay, we put out on our Facebook and our Twitter, we asked people to tell us why Ghostbusters was important to them, you know, to share some of their memories of Ghostbusters, and we got some really, really good ones back. Rob Lady wrote, me and my buddy are currently making our own Monty Python-esque DIY Ghostbusters 5-minute remake. Hopefully we get it out in time for the 30th anniversary. They said that if you want to check it out, you can see it at Better Feeling Films if you fancy a peek. I want to see that. I want to see Monty Python do Ghostbusters.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I want to see that. This is a good one. Carl Martin, Ghostbusters taught me that you can save the day even if you don't necessarily want to, which we like. It taught me the value of humour when facing even the worst of situations, which I used while in the military. It helped me in innumerable ways. And that's pretty cool, right?
That's actually what Eric was saying there when we had him on earlier.
That is pretty cool. What else? We've got... Okay, yeah, Andrew's saying it's getting a cinema re-release for the 30th anniversary.
August, I believe.
Also, we were talking, myself and yourself, Saxon Alfar, that the Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 is finally getting. Oh, did we remember?
No, we talked about that on there,
yeah. Are finally getting the Blu-ray dual release, the 4K release, which is something. Dear Santa Claus.
Yeah. No, never mind Santa Claus. I'm banning that thing the day of release.
Fran Quigley wrote, true story, when I was little, my parents said we could stay up late and watch Ghostbusters one night if we ate all our Brussels sprouts at dinner. We all tried our best, since we all wanted to see it, but my brothers failed and had to go to bed. I struggled through and got to stay up and watch it. So 7-year-old me was victorious, got to watch a cool movie and stayed up hours after my brothers. What a great night. Or it was until I woke up in the middle of the night in a pool of vomit. My brothers blamed the scary movie, or my parents blamed the scary movie and thought it must have caused me nightmares, which made me throw up. I blamed the Brussels sprouts. I wasn't allowed to watch any more scary movies for a long time. To this day, I can't look at a sprite without thinking about Ghostbusters. Love it.
Interestingly, I can't look at a sprite without thinking of Slimer.
Okay. Andrew McCarroll, our very own Andrew, I used to knock on my neighbour's door with a plastic proton pack and offer to remove the house ghost for 20p.
Oh my god, I did the same thing.
I would only ask her to Egon for 2 years and would get happy birthday Egon on my birthday cake. Actually, don't mention any of that. Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah. No, literally, whenever I was a kid, I ran around with my proton pack and my neutrino wand on my bike going around my neighbourhood. Yeah. And literally, I had this little case thing that I used as a PKE meter, and literally to this day, because I still live in the same neighbourhood, to this day, someone will walk past me and go, "Right, Ghostbuster man."
Ghostbuster man. Dale Robertson, our very own Dale, he wrote, me and my brother used to hide behind the couch during the library scene. Elder 20 still scares me. Still scares me.
Not as much as when I was a kid, but I still get that little kind of, like you're having a mini heart attack.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
You're like, I don't want to watch it. I watched it.
There it is. There it is.
Yes, he says, every time. It still gets me a little. I hate that people hate Ghostbusters too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both are awesome. We used to run around as kids with slime, scaring ourselves, hunting for ghosts. This was before Derek, of course, started any of that crap. Those ghost shows were our idea.
Do you know, if Derek Acora ran around with a proton pack, it probably would make the show more watchable.
It probably would. Paul Rogers, who runs Batman Online?
Paul? Yeah, Batman Online, that's right. Yeah.
I remember the queue on opening night at Downpatrick Cinema. Queues are always long since it had one screen, but I always remember that this was a lot more popular with my dad. I was one of the last to get admitted. The next day, it became apparent that a lot of people went home without getting into the cinema. An older guy in school wanted to beat me up because I had seen it and he didn't. Brilliant. Along with Transformers, Ghostbusters would be my favourite thing in the world for the next 5 years. Okay, Sleeve Gullion, for any fans living nearby where we are right now, Sleeve Gullion are showing it on Saturday night on the big screen. Was there anything more beautiful than the Ghostbusters rental tape, the Columbia VHS with the red flap and white Columbia logo on it? There weren't many Columbia films for kids back then, so their VHS design was always synonymous with Ghostbusters. Very good, Paul. I like that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of love for Ghostbusters. It's one of those movies, isn't it? You just take it into your heart and you hold it there.
It really is. The worst thing is for me growing up, I grew up in the dark ages of Ghostbusters. I would kind of class the dark age of Ghostbusters as kind of being from the early 90s to the kind of late 2000s, because I think kind of when the Ghostbusters video game came out, I think that's really whenever Ghostbusters kind of resurged in interest and popularity.
Okay.
I kind of grew up in this sort of dark age period, and as a kid, I was literally the only guy in school who watched the Ghostbusters cartoon series. I was the only one who loved the movies. And I was kind of shunned. I was a bit of an outcast. I was kind of bullied and picked on because I was the only guy in my school who actually liked Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it kind of goes full circle. Paul was saying that, an older boy was wanting to beat him up for getting to see Ghostbusters, whereas I was getting beat up for watching Ghostbusters,
Okay, let's call Stuart from the Monday Movie Show. Stuart, hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey. How are you?
I'm okay, I'm good. Actually, okay, good, yeah. Why not?
All right, okay.
Bit of both.
Stuart, like ourselves, big Ghostbusters fan?
Yes, huge Ghostbusters fan. I grew up on the Real Ghostbusters and the Ghostbusters movies. I was obsessed with Ghostbusters. Pretty much the same as you. I used to dress up as Egon Spengler, the one who I always wanted to be, Egon Spengler, and just play Ghostbusters with friends during break in primary school, and when we finished school as well, just messing around, etc. And them buckets of little pots of slime that you used to get out of the gumball machines, just building up a collection of that. And yeah, I loved Ghostbusters as a kid.
Stuart, do you still watch it? I know, because a lot of people can be fans of things but not revisit them. Do you still watch it, or have you watched it recently?
Yeah, this is the thing. In my work, because where I work on my own, And so everybody else in my job is downstairs on the shop floor, getting annoyed by annoying customers, etc. And so I'm upstairs on my own. So I have the luxury of having any kind of music that I want on or whatever. For the last week, I've been having episodes of the Real Ghostbusters on in the background on YouTube.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you think the movie itself, have you watched it recently?
Yes.
It still holds up. It still
does.
holds up so well.
A lot of those 80s movies hold up brilliantly well. You look at the Goonies and I can rewatch that film over and over again, and the Ghostbusters is exactly the same. It's very witty, like you said. It's got it's scary elements to it, and you can definitely see why that scared you as a child, because there are some really scary moments in that film, and like I said, it's very witty, it's very smart, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's just a brilliant film. It's in my top 5 films of all time.
That's fair.
That's fair. It's interesting you're saying about being scared by the movie, like, you know, kind of being freaked out by it. You know, you, Mark, with Ellen or Twitty. For me, like, long before the Extreme Ghostbusters came out, long before I fully founded my fandom in Ghostbusters to use all the F words in the dictionary, I used to spend all my summers, you know, at my grandparents' house because my parents would work over the summer, and I remember my granddad always had this chair on his own, and he would sit directly facing the TV, and I'd kind of sit, you know, kind of leaned up against the chair next to him, and he would always watch the movies that were on in the afternoon on Channel 4. Like, Channel 5 at this point didn't even exist. And I remember watching this one movie, right, where a woman tries to put a baby into a bathtub, which had become this kind of growling pink mess of a thing with a massive mouth that reached for the baby and tried to eat it. And then
I know what that movie is.
Then she went to this guy's place that had like weird windows in the middle of the apartment.
Yeah.
And, you know, that always freaked me out for years. The bath bit, yeah, in Ghostbusters 2. And that always really weirded me out. And then, obviously, I watched Extreme Ghostbusters. I watched the Ghostbusters movie. And then I heard there was a Ghostbusters sequel, and I watched that. And I was watching the bit with the baby in the bathtub, and I thought to myself, deja vu. Like, yeah. That's the movie! That's the thing that scarred me for life as a kid, and I couldn't sleep or have a bath for years.
Stuart, will you be watching the movie? Will you be partaking of a viewing over the weekend?
I've got a really busy weekend this weekend, so I don't know. I might, if I've got some time, I'm going to squeeze in more episodes of the Real Ghostbusters, because today I watched a couple of my favourite ones. Deadcon 1, that was the first showing of Marshmallow Man in Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the cartoon series.
Okay.
I loved that one. It was sort of like a convention kind of thing, and there was loads of ghouls around, and they got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man to be the keynote speaker. And so there's just a fantastic scene in that episode where you've got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man going over his script, the jokes he's going to tell, all these demons and stuff inside of a convention hall inside this huge, massive hotel that's just opened up. So there's that one. And the Mr. Sandman, Dream Me a Dream. Yeah. That is a fantastic episode, along with When Halloween Was Forever, the episode where you've got that demon who controls all ghosts, and he just... There's a eerie scene in it where he's got Slimer in his hands and he's just combing Slimer's head and he's just sucking the life out of Slimer.
Is that Sam Hain?
Yeah, I remember that one. I think no, it's not Sam Hain.
Is it not now?
Is it Sam Hain?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
is it? Yeah, the pumpkin head.
Because I watched that one again recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just bring his life back by just mentioning pizza. I just love that.
Typical Slimer.
The Sandman episode is arguably my favourite animated thing of all time. It's just so good. It works on every level, and the Sandman is such a scary, creepy character.
I completely agree. Along with the Boogeyman,
yes.
The fact that it scared Egon as a child, and you saw the scariness on his face when he first came up against the Boogeyman. He came up against him twice more. There was another episode of the cartoon where he came up against him, and then again in one of the comics, and so it really scared him.
Yeah, the big head and the cloven hooves, sort of.
Yeah.
But the Sandman episode, I have actually, Erik and Dan that were on the show there, Erik and Dan have promised to get the Sandman into an issue of the comic next year. And I like to think that that's down to me pressure. I mean, being nice and suggesting stuff. But yeah, the Sandman, that voice, I can't hear that voice without getting a slight chill. Because it's so good. And, the thing about the animated series too is that it did work on the characters. The toy line never, for some reason, there wasn't the Sandman, there wasn't the Boogeyman, there wasn't the Sam Hain, there wasn't the Murray the Mantis. It didn't release those, which is a pity because every episode had a pretty unique and, a good villain.
Yeah.
Which never got quite recognised in the toy line.
No, because in the toy line we have a yellow VW Beetle that turns into a green monster. And
But I mean, some of the toys are great.
Yeah,
but
they're not from the series. Because actually, I had to wait till Extreme Ghostbusters before I could pick up a Sam Hain figure.
I know. Actually, there's one on eBay for $10 in the box, and I'm very tempted to get it.
I'd go for it because I got one because I bought the Extreme Ghostbusters Ecto 1, and with that set you got a load of figures, and one of them was Sam Hain, and I was like, yay! So I have that now, pride of place in my collection.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. If you'd like to listen into the full show, you can stream it live every Thursday night from 9 p.m. UK time by clicking the link at the top of our website, followingthenerd.com. And as always, let us know your thoughts on all of our latest stories by sending us a tweet on Twitter @NerdFollowing and liking our Facebook page, facebook.com/followingthenerd. Thanks for listening, and until next time, farewell. Following the Nerd is produced and hosted by Mark Savage, with co-hosts Stephen McCullough, Jay Faulkner, and Paddy Ryan. Following the Nerd is edited by Stephen McCullough, with original music by Paul Morgan. This podcast is not endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, Dark Horse Comics, Marvel, IDW, DC Comics, HBO, AMC, or any other company group unless expressly stated as such, and is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Following the Nerd and the Following the Nerd logo are all rights and reserved worldwide. All of the trademarks are the property of their respective owners. Following the Nerd Online, the Following the Nerd logo, and all associated logos and designs are the intellectual property of Following the Nerd Limited. All music and recognizable features and all intellectual property related to these trademarks are likewise the intellectual property of Following the Nerd Limited. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Following the Nerd Limited, unless otherwise indicated.